You ever just pause for a second, maybe in the middle of rush hour traffic or while doom scrolling on your phone, and think, this can't be it, right? Like you're stuck behind a car with a bumper sticker that says live, laugh, love, while your news app pings you with breaking headlines about collapsing ecosystems and microplastics showing up in your spleen. And suddenly your brain just glitches because somewhere inside, even if you act like you're too cool or too cynical to care, there's this quiet little part of you that's been waiting for something, anything, to finally explain all of this. Like a big dramatic reveal where Morgan Freeman walks out from behind the curtain and says, here's the reason for everything. Sorry it took so long. But of course, that never happens. No one shows up to explain the mess. So let's just lay this out honestly. You, me, everyone we've ever loved, we're all going to die. Not in a dark, edgy way. Just like scheduling. It's built in. We're on a one-way moving walkway headed straight for the exit. And the only real question is, will it be heart disease, cancer, or maybe something more cinematic, like a dude in a lifted truck with road rage and a vape pen? And here's the kicker. Even if we miraculously survive all that, the sun's still going to balloon into a red giant in a few billion years and charbroil this whole planet like it's last night's leftovers. No funeral, no farewell, just universal spring cleaning. So if you've ever stared at your overly polished LinkedIn profile or spent nights replaying conversations with your emotionally unavailable ex and wondered, does any of this really matter? The answer is no. Not in a cosmic sense, not in a way the universe recognizes or gives even the faintest whisper of a damn about. But weirdly, that's kind of the point. That realization, it's not depressing, it's freeing. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to impress the abyss. This is the weird little corner where absurdism lives. Right between despair and liberation. A place where nothing matters, and that's exactly what makes it beautiful. Albert Camus, absurdism's unofficial poster boy, didn't flinch in the face of this meaninglessness. He looked the universe dead in its indifferent eyes and went, cool. Now pass the cigarettes. He wasn't hopeless. He wasn't suicidal. He was just done pretending the universe was going to write us a satisfying ending. And that right there is where the fun begins. Camus wasn't your typical philosopher. He didn't spend his life tucked away in a library, writing in riddles, hiding behind layers of academic jargon. He was poor, Algerian, grew up under colonial rule, lost his dad before he could even remember his face. His mom was deaf and barely spoke. He played goalie in soccer, chain smoked like it was a competitive sport, slept around. He lived messy, real, human. He felt the absurdity of life in his bones, not just on the page. So when World War II erupted, he wasn't just writing about freedom, he was fighting for it. Literally. He was in the resistance, publishing editorials and battling fascism, all while wrestling with the question, does any of this actually mean anything? That's like running into a burning building while wondering whether the heat death of the universe renders it all moot. And that's the energy Camus brought. He didn't write from a pedestal. He wrote from the street, from the cafe, the hospital, the battlefield, and yeah, sometimes the morgue. That's why his work still hits. He saw people desperate to make life make sense, clinging to religion, nationalism, ideology, anything that could give life a beginning, middle, and end. Something neat and clean, something with justice, with karma, with reasons. But the world kept throwing curveballs. Innocent kids died. Terrible people got rich. Plagues tore through civilizations. Good friends vanished. Everything kept happening. Brutal, random, unfair, no moral, no logic. And instead of looking away or pretending there had to be a lesson buried somewhere, Camus leaned in. He basically said, here we are, bipedal apes screaming into the cosmic void, begging it to hold us. But the void, it doesn't answer, never has, never will. That silence, that's the absurd. So let's clear something up. Absurdism isn't just life is weird. It's that gap you feel between your deep, aching desire for meaning and the universe's complete refusal to deliver. It's like being trapped in an escape room with no clues, no exits, and a game master who doesn't speak your language. And then you realize, oh, this escape room? It's just my life now. We want life to have arcs, themes, redemption, like a good novel, a movie with Morgan Freeman. But reality? It's more like raccoon improv on acid. Camus looked at that and said, don't fake it, don't sugarcoat it, don't baptize it in spirituality or self-help mantras. Don't pretend the absurd isn't there. Sit in it. Let it be weird. Let it be meaningless. And then choose how you want to live anyway. Yeah, easier said than done. But if you can do it, if you can choose to live without illusions, to actually be with the absurd instead of always running from it, that's the start of something powerful. See, Camus wasn't into giving up, but he also wasn't about pretending. He thought running to religion or ideology just to quiet the discomfort, that was cheating. He called it philosophical suicide. It's like trading one lie for another so you can sleep a little better at night. But what if you didn't need a lie? What if you could live honestly, even in chaos? That, to Camus, was the real rebellion. Not overthrowing governments, not joining some movement with matching shirts and chants. Just waking up every day and choosing to be here, even when it sucks, even when it doesn't make sense. That's where freedom starts. Let's talk about a guy you've probably heard of, Sisyphus, classic Greek myth. The gods decided he was a little too clever for his own good, so they punished him. Roll a massive boulder up a hill forever. Every time he gets close to the top, the thing rolls back down. Rinse, repeat, forever. Sounds like hell, right? Like a metaphor for working a job that slowly crushes your soul, or doing your taxes every year while your soul slowly leaks out your ears. But Camus, he looked at that story and didn't see torture. He saw something strangely hopeful. He wrote a short but powerful book called The Myth of Sisyphus, basically a philosophical love letter to the guy stuck with the eternal rock push. Camus imagines Sisyphus standing at the bottom of the hill again, watching the rock tumble back down, and instead of collapsing in despair, he just smiles. Maybe he lights a cigarette, shrugs, starts climbing again. Not because he expects things to change, not because he thinks he'll get a prize if he keeps going, but because the repetition is his life. And now, he owns it. That's the heart of absurdism, not giving up and not lying to yourself. It's about saying, okay, this is my situation. I'm going to keep showing up anyway. We're all Sisyphus in one way or another. It's just part of being human. We wake up, we clock in, we fall in love, we get our hearts broken, we clean the kitchen, we make something, we get sick, we get better. Then we get sick again. We answer emails. We stand in line at the DMV. And all the while the rock keeps rolling. But here's the trick. Once you stop expecting the boulder to stay at the top, you start noticing the climb. The view, the fresh air, the way your legs get stronger, dashes, the repetition, the absurd rhythm of it all. It starts to feel kind of beautiful, if you let it. That's what Camus meant when he wrote, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy." Not blissful, not deluded, just present, grounded, alive. Because the struggle itself, Camus says, is enough to fill a person's heart. Now, this is where people sometimes get confused. They hear all this talk about absurdity and think it's a kind of philosophical shrug, like nothing matters, so why bother? But that's not it at all. Camus drew a sharp line between rebellion and revolution. Revolution is when you replace one dogma with another. Tear down the old system, install a shiny new one, and hope it doesn't rot too fast. But rebellion is personal, quiet, internal, bored. It's waking up and deciding to live with open eyes, to create meaning even when the world won't give you any. Real rebellion is giving a damn at your dead-end job. It's staying soft even after someone ghosts you. It's reading poetry to a cat who absolutely couldn't care less. It's fighting for justice in a rigged and crumbling system, not because you think you'll fix it all, but because you refuse to sit this one out. Not for applause, not for some cosmic reward, just because this is your moment, and you're not handing it over to despair, or TikTok therapists selling moon-charged water bottles and vague ideas about alignment. Camus wasn't saying throw your life away. He wasn't saying run to fantasy. He was saying rebel. By living like your choices matter, even if the universe doesn't notice. And look, this kind of honesty about life, it's hard, exhausting even. Most people want off the ride the second it stops being fun. And honestly, fair. Camus understood that. He outlined 3 main ways people try to escape the absurd. The first, the nuclear option, actual suicide. Camus opens the myth of Sisyphus by calling suicide the only serious philosophical question. Because if life is meaningless, then why go on living at all? But he wasn't endorsing it, not at all. He saw suicide as checking out before the story really starts. It's like walking out of a movie just because you found out there's no happy ending. Maybe there isn't, but maybe the point isn't the ending. Maybe the point is to keep watching. The second escape route? What Camus called philosophical suicide. That's when you cling to some absolute truth, not because you believe in it, but because you can't stand the ambiguity. Religion, nationalism, ideologies that hand you a tidy story in exchange for your discomfort. If you believe something because you've truly wrestled with it, great. But if you believe it because you're afraid to be lost, that's not faith. That's fear playing dress-up. And then there's the third escape, distraction. The endless scroll, the noise, the numbing. Now, Camus didn't have TikTok, but if he did, he'd probably call it the cathedral of avoidance. Every second packed with something, anything, so we never have to sit in stillness and ask the hard question. What the hell am I doing here? But here's the thing. None of these escapes erase the absurd. They just bury it under more noise. And Camus, he didn't think the absurd needed to be erased. It just needed to be faced. Because on the other side of that confrontation is something strange, something messy, something deeply human. And Camus wasn't the only one marching down that weird existential back alley. There's a whole parade of thinkers, poets, sad geniuses, and philosophical pranksters who stared into the absurd and decided to keep dancing anyway. Let's take a quick tour. First stop, Franz Kafka. If you invited Kafka to a dinner party, he'd probably leave everyone questioning their job, their childhood, their family, and whether they actually exist. He gave us stories like The Metamorphosis, where a guy wakes up as a giant bug and no one really cares. They just lock him in a room and move on. No explanation, no moral, just existential dread with an exoskeleton. But changes Kafka's whole deal. The system is broken. Nobody's coming to save you. You can scream, but the universe is on silent mode. It's like calling customer service for your soul and getting an endless loop of hold music. Your call is important to us. Please stay on the line. Forever. Then there's Samuel Beckett, basically the playwright version of an existential slow-motion car crash. His most famous work? Waiting for Godot. 2 guys, waiting for someone who never shows up. That's it. That's the play. They talk. About boots. About carrots. It's hilarious and bleak and weirdly tender. Like eavesdropping on 2 stone philosophers stuck in limbo. Beckett didn't want to depress you. He wanted you to laugh at how funny it is that we cling to hope in a world that doesn't send confirmations. The joke isn't that there's no punchline. The punchline is that you're still here, waiting. Now let's add Søren Kierkegaard to the mix, the anxious Danish philosopher who basically invented existentialism before it had a name. Talked about dread, faith, the terrifying freedom of choice. Kierkegaard stared into the abyss and said, "I'm jumping, and I'm calling it God." Camus looked into the same abyss and said, "Nah, I'll just build a weird little cabin next to it and write some essays." Different vibes, same abyss. Then there's Jean-Paul Sartre and the existentialists. They believed we're not born with meaning. We create it through our choices, through action. Choose your essence. Live authentically. And Camus, he was mostly on board with that, except he added, just don't pretend those choices matter to the universe. That's where you trap yourself again. It's like obsessing over how to arrange furniture while the entire building's quietly on fire. And of course, Kurt Vonnegut, the literary trickster. The master of saying devastating things with a wink and a fart joke. He gave us aliens, war trauma, time travel, and that iconic phrase, "So it goes," every time someone died. Vonnegut got the absurd. He didn't intellectualize it, he lived in it. His books were funeral songs disguised as satire, sad and hilarious and uncomfortably familiar. He didn't try to solve the absurd. He just handed you a glass of whiskey and said, "Laugh at it, kid. It's all garbage anyway." So here we are, modern absurdists, trying to live in this wildly broken world that's both too much and not enough. And the question now is, how do we live absurdly in the age of late-stage capitalism, digital overload, and spiritual influencers selling moon dust in mason jars? What does rebellion look like when your boulder has a Fitbit and your existential dread comes with push notifications? Absurdism today isn't just philosophical, it's physical. It's in your aching back, your overflowing inbox, the existential fatigue in your bones. It's showing up to a job that's draining your life force so you can afford groceries that keep getting smaller and more expensive. It's realizing you've spent 3 hours watching strangers on the internet live curated versions of their lives while forgetting what your own life even feels like. This is where absurdism matters more than ever, because it tells us you don't have to pretend this all makes sense. You're not obligated to chase productivity like your worth depends on it. You don't need to tie your value to your follower count, your job title, your Google Calendar. You can sit with the absurdity and still choose to care. Still create something. Still say, "I love you," even if it all dissolves tomorrow. You can enjoy lunch even if the planet's on fire. You can laugh at democracy being influenced by people who think birds aren't real. You can look at the chaos and say, "Yeah, this is a mess, but it's my mess." And when you stop trying to fix everything on some massive, cosmic level, you start fixing the little things. The real things. Showing up for people. Creating something that no one asked for. And following in grown game to the sheriff. Calling your weird uncle. Petting your dog like it's the first and last time. You stop needing the universe's permission to matter. You just matter because you're here. That's the heart of it. Joy, rebellion, and the art of giving a damn. Absurdism doesn't say nothing matters and leave you face down in your cereal. It says nothing matters by default, so you get to choose what does. And that choice, that's power. Most people go through life half asleep, chasing someone else's version of meaning. They want a gold star, a final answer, some sign that they're doing life correctly. But we know now, the answers aren't coming. We've seen behind the curtain, and it's just more curtain. Yes, so what do? Why? We stay awake. We keep showing up. We love people, even when they're complicated and messy and ghost us sometimes. We make art, even if no one sees it but our moms and a tired algorithm. And we laugh, not because life's a joke, but because the other option is screaming into a pillow. And honestly, laughter's better at parties. That's the rebellion Camus was talking about. Not the loud, dramatic kind where you burn it all down, but the stubborn, quiet kind, where you keep sweeping the floor even when the ceiling's caved in. You plant a garden in the ruins. It's not optimism, but it's not nihilism either. It's something more defiant, something functional. We're not pretending life is meaningful. We're not pretending it's meaningless. We're saying, okay, if I'm stuck in this bizarre play, I'm at least going to write my own damn lines. That's what makes the absurdist hero dangerous. They can't be guilted, can't be bought. They don't live for approval or reward. They live because they choose to. Camus didn't give us a blueprint. He gave us a mirror. He said, look, this is life. It's messy. It's irrational. It ends. And then he asked, what are you going to do with that? You can scream at the void, or you can smile at it. You can demand meaning, or you can make it. The absurd hero isn't numb to pain. They feel it all. But they don't outsource their purpose to someone else's story. They live like each moment is real, because it is. Not in an eternal cosmic way, but in a human way. Do we need a grand cosmic mission just to get out of bed? Does the universe really need to clap every time we care about something? Maybe not, but maybe it's enough that you care. Maybe that kind thing you did today, that mattered, unkasansan. Maybe that cringy painting that made one person laugh on a miserable Tuesday, that mattered. Helping a stranger, not for karma points, not for clout, just because you could. That's rebellion. That's meaning, born out of the absurd. So, what now? You wake up tomorrow. You make coffee. Feed the pets kale dut. Check your phone. Get a little sad because the world is still broken dot. And then you push the boulder. Not for applause. Not for salvation. But because the boulder is yours. Because being alive means moving something uphill with your own hands while the universe watches in silence. And sometimes, maybe you even smile, just a little. Because the rock doesn't own you, you choose to push it. And that choice, that defiance, that might be the most meaningful, meaningless thing you'll ever do. So yeah, Camus wrote, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." We must imagine Sisyphus happy. And maybe, on a good day, we can imagine ourselves that way too. All right, if you'll excuse me, I've got a hill to climb. And a boulder with my name on it. Thanks for watching.